Good afternoon.
Hello.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. I know we're missing a couple people, but we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to share my screen. It's been a while since I've had to share a screen. I'm sure most of you are probably that way. If before we get started, we have somebody new on the screen. So that is Miss Dixon. So Miss Dixon, there you go. She teaches child development in old Miss Kennedy's room. And this year she actually has kiddos going off campus to Crockett Elementary. So it's exciting. So she's a first year teacher. So we thought this would be a fun little, Mr. Jones thought that would also be a good thing for Miss Dixon to be part of, to kind of see. As you know, I don't know, me personally, I have not had any additional walkthroughs. I don't know. Maybe other people have. So maybe just kind of the year it is, but you've had 2 walkthroughs in addition to your evaluations?
Nope, I guess just one walkthrough with Howard, and then Chris Lee did my evaluation.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I've only had the 2 evaluations and that's all I've had so far. So, but let me share my screen and I want to make sure I'm having the right document up. Oh, nope, not that one. I have to find, okay, there we go. Share screen. And of course it's not there because it's new. Oh my goodness. Well, I may not be able to share the screen with you. It was the agenda is what I was going to share with you. And it's literally not here. My screen is all blank. It says desktop. And why is this? I'm sorry. Well, we're not going to do that. Never mind. I won't share screen. So I have the agenda. Oh, you can't even see it. There we go. Boy, I cannot turn off that filter. You can't even see it with the filter. Isn't that awful? Okay, let me do this real quickly. Agenda. There you go. So you have the agenda now. So as you'll see, when we're looking through the agenda, we're going to start off by why we do a walkthrough and go over some of the data that I pulled from I provided for you with the TAPR. Then we'll be looking at various other walkthroughs, and the goal is using you, we're going to collaborate and I will actually produce a walkthrough. This walkthrough is going to be a tool that I will use to evaluate or do a walkthrough with someone and then go from there. So we will start with why do we do walkthroughs? So why do we do walkthroughs? Oh, wait, I don't have video. I don't have audio now. Oh my gosh. Nick Ferguson is here? Oh, hold on. That's awesome. Hey, Nick, how are you doing?
Howdy. Hey, I have kids in my room. Do I need to go somewhere else?
You know what? If you can't stay, it's okay because I understand. But we'll need you next Tuesday for sure for NHS. Don't forget that one. That's very important.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a Mu Alpha Theta meeting. I mean, I could just go next door.
Oh, it's okay because I can't share my screen with you, and I didn't know I couldn't share my screen. So
Okay.
I'm having technology issues, so it's perfectly fine. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thanks. So my audio doesn't work when I took out my cord, so I had to put my speaker back on, and I'm blaring my speaker into the screen. This is awful. But all right. So why do we do walkthroughs? Or what's your take on having a walkthrough?
I was going to chime in and say that I think the purpose of walkthroughs is just to do a real quick assessment to see how what the classroom environment is looking like. It gives usually that campus admin a snapshot of just kind of what's going on in the classrooms. Does it give them a holistic view of everything that's going on? Not necessarily, but it is an opportunity for them to have, it's a quick way for them to be able to evaluate what's going on, what the classroom environment looks like, and maybe if there is an immediate need, it's something that they can do quickly before doing their evaluation too.
All right. Anybody else who wants to elaborate on that? I think you covered. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think also just classroom management, it'll pick up some key things, especially if a walkthrough is done early in the year and at different stages of the year.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, the difference between seeing the growth between the first of the year and the end of the year. That's a nice assessment there. Didn't think about that. I think because we've had lack of them this year, it does affect, and maybe with all the new people we have on campus, maybe that would be very beneficial for our new ones. So, okay, so as we move on then, did anybody have a chance to look through any of the data? The data came from the Texas, it's your Texas Academic Performance Report, the TAPR report. This was pulled, obviously in 2021, it wasn't rated, it was declared a state disaster. This data that I pulled is for SGP. And so when looking at the data, as a principal or an instructional leader, you've got to look at your data. Hello, how are you? Okay. And so we have to, obviously they have to look at the data to see what do I need to do to get better. So if you had the opportunity of looking at the data, what were some of the big takeaways that you got from what you saw? If you're able to look at it.
One of the biggest things that, as I've looked at the paper data, is that obviously we do have some areas for growth when it comes to for English 1 and English 2. We've probably, I would say, because we haven't been able to capture really good data over the past couple of years because of the pandemic, has really not given us great data to work with because we've just had a lot of students out or not taking the test. So there is room for growth. So I did see that, we still have some areas, and it's always seems to be English 1 and 2, even when you look at year over year, that there needs to be a lot of growth there. And that we've got some opportunities and challenges to be able to increase those numbers.
So, and it starts with English, so it's really easy to start off looking at that. I dug down a little bit deeper, and when you look, if you look from 2019 to 2021, you can see a drop. It's not that big of a drop, but it is a drop. But when you go look at Algebra 1, you're looking at almost a 30% drop in Algebra 1. So knowing that, your instructional leaders, what are they going to do to ensure that they're going to get, these quality teachers in there, these rock star teachers in there to make these changes happen? So I think personally, it's going to be real interesting to see what is it going to look like this next year, to see. And I'm actually excited. I'm so curious. I can't wait for it to come out. But I'm also a teacher who doesn't teach that. So, I don't have any pressure, so if I was a core teacher, I'd probably have that pressure. And so I did notice that, I don't know, Vanessa, if you looked at the science at all, your science saw some, but it was pretty similar to what the English was, not as drastic as it was for the Algebra 1. So, and across the state, we were somewhat similar in certain areas, what the state was to where SGP is. So where you saw the big differences between the drop between the years and things like that. So does anybody have any other take on if they looked at the data, if you're able to look at the data?
I'm looking at it right now. Give me a second.
Okay. Thank you for joining us as well. I'm sorry.
Trying to join.
No, I saw it went to Teams, but I'm like, I don't know I do know what Teams is, so I get that, but having a new computer for a week and not knowing all the kinks until I don't have audio on my computer right now. I'm running it through my speaker, which is literally right here. Because I couldn't hear you if I unplugged my speaker. So I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
I think one of the things that you pointed out, Shelby, when you're talking about the drop with algebra and even the drops that we're seeing really across the board with these learning gaps that we had from the pandemic, is that kind of goes back to the heart of just classroom, what's going on in the classrooms. And so looking at this data, knowing that there's a need for our campus, that these walkthroughs are necessary to be able to have those checkpoints to see what's going on in the classrooms. Because as instructional leaders, if they're not in there seeing what's going on with teachers, it's really hard to be able to make an impact on these numbers.
Thank you. Thank you.
I remember whenever I taught world history, it was like a big writing initiative to kind of help out with English scores. I haven't taught world history in a few years, so I'm not sure if that's still like a big push for them or just for all content classes in general. But I remember at one point our goal was like everybody needs to focus on writing. And so we were really big about pushing that here on this campus.
We were cross-curricular at one time. So we did see the need to help fill those gaps, and which we're not doing that right now, but
Yeah.
yeah, we're not. So since I am not able to share my screen with you, I don't know why, we were gonna look at Edugence, and let me try one more time. I just wanna, I don't know, let me just try one more time. I know, I got the look, Misha. You're like, what do you mean? you
I'm
can't
sorry.
Screen.
I'll hide my camera.
Let me try. Let me try. It's weird what I see when, I mean, I literally have a bunch of question mark or exclamation marks, and they're just triangles. So it says, Google Chrome unknown, Safari. So, okay, open system preferences. Oh, you're back again. I don't know why. Yeah. Can you guys see me okay though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's the weirdest thing because I click on open system preferences and it literally takes me right back to you guys. So, okay, do this maybe. I have no idea. I don't know. It's the problem of getting technology, a week before. So we're gonna go back. We'll not be able to share that with you. And that was the only one I couldn't print off for you, because it was, since they do it digitally. So that was one thing that we need to talk about. Do you feel like it's best to do things digitally? Or do you think years ago, we used to have, they would do a Google form. They would literally do a Google form. The principals would do that, their walkthroughs. Then we went to Edugence. And so everything is being done in Edugence. So when they do their evaluation on their iPad, they can click it, send it, and then we get notification that it's done. A long time ago, when I started here, they actually had like a 5x7 sheet of paper that was carbon copy that they would just leave it when they walked out, so you got instant
Yeah,
feedback.
like immediate feedback. Yeah, that
Yes.
sounds the most ideal.
It was awesome. You knew right then. And I mean, it wasn't even 5x7. It was maybe 4x6. It was small. And they had some boxes on there, and I wish I could find a copy of one, which I probably have. But just a fairly small, and they would just check if they saw it, and then they'd give you feedback, they'd leave it there, and then they'd move on. Because at that point, they actually, I think, had a quota, and I think that they had to do so many walkthroughs. Yes, and it was probably part of their evaluation if they were to produce that. So, which they don't do. And I get it while we move to technology, but then sometimes, like today, not being able to access the technology as you really want, it does harbor some things. So let's look at, I did number, thank you, that when I printed these off, we're looking at this first one here. It says number 1. So if you can look at that for me.
Give me a second, I'm gonna go grab it.
Okay. And so I literally pulled these off the internet. I just put walkthrough forms. So we'll see, this was, and I tried to, and honestly, I tried to be a little different since I have to create one. I was just trying to be as unique as possible. So when I created it, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What do you think we should have on the form? And so that is, we'll glance through here. So this first one, you'll see you just have a 3, 2, 1, 0. And it's, did you observe it? Did you see it? They broke it down into instruction. They broke it down into how are the students engaged? And then the teacher behaviors. So I thought this was fairly easy to read. I liked it when I saw it, when I was evaluating it. So what do you like about this form here, if anything?
I like how it's chunked up into those different areas of like instruction, students, and teachers. Because I think, as the one that would maybe be doing the walkthrough, I think this would make it easy to target some of those areas that might need improvement, or also where maybe they're doing really well, but also as a teacher looking at it, kind of pinpointing maybe the main area that I need to work on. Maybe I'm doing really great with instruction, but maybe, you know, for my behaviors, maybe I need to be moving around the room more, or, you know, getting in the power zone or something like that. So I like that it's real concise.
Okay.
Gary, I like the simple point system. I mean, 0 to 3, that's awesome. I would even take 1, 2, 3. But yeah, I like the simplicity because if this was a paper copy, it could just be dropped, which I agree with you, Shelby, just at the desk. I remember that because it's instant feedback. It's something that I could even work on the next class period.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like how, and maybe I'm misinterpreting this, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you're only getting evaluated on things that occur in the classroom, not things that are missing. Like it says, reteaching occurs when necessary. Because I feel like some of our evaluations are like, you have to hit all these points. And sometimes depending on if I'm starting a unit or finishing a unit, they won't just be feasible. So I feel like this one is more directed at what's actually occurring, not what in the ideal situation, there's no like crazy chaos, bell system, kids getting shuffled around type of situation, what's actually happening in the classroom.
I like that. I do think what I would like is, I know that on this form, it says time observed, you know, it says 12 to 18 minutes. I think it would be important, at least for our secondary campus, that we put where was this 12 to 18 minutes? Was it at the beginning of the lesson? Was it at the end of the lesson? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
kind of get the time frame to see, like you were saying, Misha, that, you know, I mean, it does make a difference of where you're at. You know, some teachers do bell ringers. Like I love the teacher across from you, Miss Gonzalez, who has that thing on the door. Those kids know,
Mhm.
they expect that every day. And I'm like, what a cool little thing. If you haven't checked it
Yeah.
out, go see it. It's really neat. I don't know what she does with all those papers every day, but
Hope
it's
she
really
cycles
cool.
it. I don't know.
It's really cool. And I'm like, I want to steal that idea.
Yeah.
Miss Dixon, you should go check out the G Hall. There's an English teacher up there that does a neat little, maybe it is maybe her intro warm up or something like
So
that.
today I know I overheard her talking to a kid about it. They're reading some book and like the question deals with the book.
Oh.
And so there's that's like the character has like a conflict he's trying to or she's trying to overcome. And so she asked the kids, I guess before they engage with the book.
Oh, nice, nice. I
Yeah.
bet Miss McMinn likes hearing that.
Yeah. My kids are just like, how come we don't do this? I'm like, you're fine.
Okay, so is there any other feedback on this form here? Do you see anything? I mean, anything you don't like?
I like the teacher behavior, the teacher moving around the room. I feel like sometimes we may get comfortable with just kind of being in like our power position at the front. And so I think it is good for anyone who's doing my evaluation to know that sometimes I don't need to be at the front. Sometimes I need to be back here with this one group or this one kid, things like that.
You know, I sat down yesterday and the kids, I guess it was yesterday. I sat down at my stool and they said, "Are you okay?" And I go, "Yeah." And they go, "Well, you never sit down. This is fourth period. You never sit down." And I said, "Well, their announcements are on. I might as well sit." Okay, let's look at number 2 then. This came from Education Service Center Region 2. I wasn't for sure if we would be able to understand what the clusters said. That I wasn't for sure, but I think we can decipher because everything was, you know, cluster 2A, 2B, 2C, yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
But it does appear that it's evident that once you start reading, you can figure out what that cluster pertains to.
Mhm.
So just by kind of looking at this walkthrough, is there anything that you like, don't like? It is a different format.
I think and that's just me and my biases. I don't like the ideas of checklists. I don't feel like I have to hit all these points in my lessons. I just want you to just, like every teacher has a different instructional style based off of our content or the grade level that we have, if we're a tested subject, if we're not. And so checklists just, I feel like aren't good. Like this would make me feel like I have to make sure I do all of this during the time period that they come in my room. So then I like trying to do like a dog and pony show.
Oh, okay. And that's not necessarily what I mean, obviously that's not what they want. That's not what the walkthrough is. They know they may
That's just
get that
me
in
being a
an
perfectionist.
observation, but
Yeah.
that's not in the walkthrough. So,
Mhm.
okay, thank you for that.
But you know what? Like, so to think like an admin, maybe checks are easier. If
Oh, I'm sure they're way easier.
if you're trying to hit and make yourself noticeable and in so many classrooms, you know, maybe
Yeah.
checklist is not, you know, But I mean, just kind of going off of both ends.
Yeah, I definitely get it from the admin. I just like if I see that I was always that kid and that adult now, like if I see that this is what I do to get like a perfect score, I want to make sure I hit all these points for that perfect score.
I get that too.
Oh,
Yep.
I get that too, because we all like to be perfectionists, and that's why we're all on here right now.
Yeah.
So I did notice this one does have the start time and the end time. Again, it doesn't have, where exactly they're at. It doesn't say class time. So we don't know if it's in the beginning of the lesson, end of the lesson, and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you look at the very bottom, it talks about, I have concerns about progress. So, so they're giving feedback that way. So this person can say, yes, I'm not seeing some things, or no. And if there is a yes, it tells them what, and what are the areas. So again, I'm not quite for sure what the planning for learner-centered instruction or instruction and communication, classroom environment and professionalism, I don't know how those are portrayed in here, broken up into here, because they're asking you for 4 topics, but there's only 2 categories, or clusters. So I'm not for sure how they break that up. But they do give that feedback, on, okay, I think we need to come in and meet, and it's going to be about something of one of those areas. So
I do like the fact that it's like if I understood this rubric, I would know that I need to work on this area in particular. I do like that.
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, and that kind of makes me think about the clusters. I mean, they've obviously got, there's maybe some areas like, if they didn't observe that I have any like, building rapport or providing a structured environment or positive relationships, then maybe that'd be an area that I could see that I need to focus on. But I agree with Amisha that I don't really like the list. I know it is easier, I think, when people are doing walkthroughs, but I think having some sort of actual feedback, like something that I can actually, that's actionable, that I can use and immediately try to implement in my classroom, and be more helpful than just trying to see all the checks or the things that I didn't get checked.
Mhm.
Leading into the third one, we're going to see how you like this one now. It is an elementary. And so,
I can tell by the font.
right? Let's use Comic Sans or whichever.
Yeah.
So number 3, obviously elementary. And so this is primarily just a checklist, and they literally are only marking, did you see it?
I like the comment section though, assuming that people actually leave comments. Because
Right.
for cheer, we use a rubric similar to this, and we can put comments about why they got certain, well, we have numbers though for cheer. But I can see like if I didn't get in check, I would assume my appraiser would say a comment about that area.
So I'm thinking so it could be difficult to actually write a comment, especially if you're looking at roughly 20 different areas, Now,
Yes.
do you think, because they broke this up into learning environment, curriculum instruction, and classroom activities, could be somewhat similar to that very first one we looked at? They had with the instructions, well, they had students, which could be similar possibly to classroom. Teacher behaviors could be, well, I don't know, I guess not, something I may have to create. Do you think using this form here, would it be more impactful if they maybe only walked in with only one section, not the whole thing engaged? I mean, to me, to kind of literally, today I'm only going to look at your learning environment. Or do you just think just leave it on the whole piece of paper? What do you think?
Well, I guess if it's like a true walkthrough, then I don't know what they're looking at. That could be a way to kind of make sure everything looks good. Like if I don't know which aspect is going to be evaluated on. It's similar to like if we have like spiral checks, the kids don't know what section of spiral we're checking. I can see it working out that way. But then some teachers may feel like this is I gotcha type of rubric. So
And well, or how many check marks can I get,
that
And
too.
again, how impactful is this if there are no comments?
No, not at all. It's just like you got 3 of the 8 checks, and that's all it would be.
Yeah. So, we got to think about that.
Mhm.
All right. So I go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm
Anybody?
sorry. For secondary, yeah, I don't agree with this at all. But you have to keep in mind for elementary, there's less teachers, less
Mhm.
classrooms. The admin can actually stay in there longer. So
Very
just
true.
True. Okay. So now when I try to design one based on, or maybe you have a different thing or a different idea that you feel, what should be on a walkthrough form? Because I am going to create this. I'm going to share it with you guys too. So what should I have? What topics should I have on there? If we're like looking, I mean, is it important to have, what about the instruction or the students or teaching behaviors, learning environment, curriculum? I need to figure, what should I have on there? And then, then I go from there. What do you feel should be on
I
there?
really like learning environment. I feel like that's 3/4 of the battle with just high school classrooms. Just make sure your environment is conducive to learning.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna highlight, maybe easier for me. So the learning environment, okay. Right. Anything else I should have on there?
I do really like about that piece about students are engaged on that very first one.
Okay,
Because I like that. It gives them a spot where they need to they're actually showing an example of where students are engaged for that teacher. So I do like that. And I like the teacher behavior one too, though, that
I
piece.
do as well. I feel like sometimes you don't notice what you're doing as a teacher and how that has an overall impact too. So it'd be
Right.
great to have feedback, like, hey, you stood here for 35 of the 45 minutes and the kids
Yes.
on this side of the room,
Yeah, exactly.
do you feel like there needs to be a comment section on there?
Yes.
I
I
would
do.
say, yeah, in addition to the feedback area that they were
Mhm.
talking about. Yep.
Mhm.
In genuine comments, not just scripting what happened.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
My old school district, they used to just script our whole entire, like he would just write down what we did and then just talk to us about what we did. I was like, I know what I did, like I did it. How does that help me?
That's kind of what I see in my evaluations. He
Yeah.
just writes down what I've done. I'm like, I know that.
You ask this question, like, I know, I know I
You know,
did.
one of the things that we could add, and I think this is something that we used to have years ago, and y'all probably remember, when we had walkthroughs, remember they used to do something where it'd say like a grow and a glow. And they're like one thing, and this is what teaching and learning is using right now. Sometimes they're doing some walkthroughs on our campus. And we're like one thing that maybe that you can work on, but one thing that you're doing really well. And so you get kind of that positive reinforcement, but then also some opportunities for growth. So, after you've looked at all that, because there's a lot of information that they can, but that's a real quick, like, here's one thing I think you did really well. Here's one thing that I think that you can improve upon. Just being able to have that, that feedback quickly rather than having to just decipher through all this might be helpful too.
I agree.
I like,
It'll definitely keep teacher morale up too. Like if my feedback is only critique, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm not cut out to be a teacher. Maybe I
Right,
need to try
yeah.
something else. So
I
I think
like
that would definitely help out.
I like that. Thank you. Do you feel this form created should be a check mark, or do you think it should have the numerical like we saw in that first one?
I like the numerical.
I like the numbers too.
Yep.
I do too.
Okay. Okay. So if I were, the utopia best of walkthrough forms, anything else I should consider?
This would classroom management go in addition to like what Amisha was saying with classroom environment? Or do you think that would be like a separate?
So,
I
if
just
I'm-
think of like, with all the new teachers that we see this year.
I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
I do
Environment
too.
may be one way, but that management may be something totally different. Like they might not be
Or-
cohesive yet.
What do you think, Erica?
I think learning environment still encompasses that. You just depending on it, maybe something that you could say, that under learning environment, because there's some things like on that very, well, the what is this one? Is this the elementary one? Like on the elementary one, it talks about like, like the high expectations for students, or you could talk maybe about behavioral standards or how students are behaving. I mean, there's a way I think you could put that in there where it would encompass that that classroom management.
Okay, that'd be the place to definitely make sure that it's incorporated in that area. Ms.
Yeah.
Dixon, because you have not had many walkthroughs, none. So what is your take on what you've seen so far on these forms? As a new,
I like the first one.
okay,
And then when she was talking about the management for the learning environment,
Mhm.
I thought that would be good so that you can give feedback being a first year teacher, so that, you know, you would kind of have a goal to set and then the grow and glow.
Uh-huh.
I think that was what it
I
was.
like that too. I've written that, I got that highlighted on there too. So yes. Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you would like, you think? I mean, because as we wrap things up, I've taken your time. So, I mean, you know, as we wrap things up, anything else for me that you think I should add or not, or
No, are you asking me?
anybody?
Oh,
Anybody?
okay. No, I think it's great.
No.
Okay, so now the work's on my end to put something together,
No
you know,
pressure.
and no pressure, you know, it'd be nice, you know, and I'll share it, of course, with Mr. Jones. I'll share it with Mr. Jones. And then use it to do the evaluation, things like that. And that's how we grow. So I do appreciate you all for coming, and I'm sorry for my technology issues. Something
No
that I'm gonna
problem.
investigate a little bit more.
Mhm.
So
Problem.
it's in my Zoom setting somewhere. So, but thank you so much.
Right.
Mhm.
Thanks,
Good
Shelby.
luck, Shelby.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, y'all.